Hi, Margarita, Revea, and Kathy. This is Cliff, and this is just a quick video walkthrough of the presentation that I put together. I wanted to be able to do this just because the PDF that I'll be posting will have all these slides in it, but the finished presentation I've got does have some movement and some animation. So I wanted to be able to a little bit more clearly explain where I was heading with it, just in case anybody had any questions. Since I know that we're only going to be meeting for about a half hour tomorrow, it'll give us a little bit more time and let everybody be prepared with any questions, suggestions, anything like that, so that we can get rolling as soon as we can. So I'll go ahead and start from the beginning. And I wanted to start out with the idea of the Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. While Kathy was handing out the peanut butter cups to everybody, I could be describing the concept that we had about how you can take one thing that somebody likes and another distinct thing that another group of people likes, and that you can combine them into something that even a broader cross-section of both those groups will enjoy, and how we wanted to be able to apply that same kind of a concept to such a broad city as Atlanta. And from there it would go into a little bit of background on Atlanta itself, just how it's basically divided off by 285, and that divide has basically split Atlanta into two groups, which are, of course, the ITP, inside the perimeter people, and those who are OTP, outside the perimeter. And that many times, many of these two groups of people do not meet. The inside the perimeter people tend to want to stay inside the perimeter, and the outside the perimeter people want to stay outside. And I thought that it would be good to give this kind of background, basically to make this more of a problem and a solution. We need to state the problem and go through it, and then pose our solution vis-a-vis, of course, our magazine. So once you have these two groups, then we need to talk about some of the perceptions of each of these groups. The perception from the outside the perimeter people looking in, which would be somebody like me from growing up, and as probably most of the things that we've all heard, things about how, well, the traffic is just miserable. If you want to go into Atlanta, it's going to be 2 hours to get you in. It doesn't matter if it's 2 a.m. or 5 p.m. or 8 a.m., whenever. It's basically going to take you 2 hours to get there, and it's just going to be miserable. And that once you get into Atlanta, you're not going to be able to park anywhere. There's just absolutely no parking anywhere in Atlanta, to hear some outside the perimeter people tell it. And even though the traffic is terrible and the parking is awful, you still pretty much have to drive, because the mass transit system is just the worst in the country. It's terrible, it's miserable, it's filthy, it's unreliable, on and on and on. And that once you do finally get to where you're going, either on your way home or on your way there or on your way into where you're going, you're probably going to be the victim of a crime. You're going to get your car broken into, you're going to get robbed, you're going to get attacked, you're going to get beaten, one of a million things. It's pretty much certain. It's just going to happen to you if you come into Atlanta, or so a group of people think. But likewise, there is also the perception that going into Atlanta, there's not that much to do. You can do some of the more touristy things, which are, of course, going to the aquarium, the World of Coke, the CNN Center, places like that. You can take in a concert at one of the handful of venues that are around that are worth going to, or you can go catch a pro sports game. And that most of these outside the perimeter people that come into Atlanta, they're basically generally coming to do one of these kinds of things, and then they're going straight back home. They go straight to the event that they're going to see, and then they get straight back in their car and they get all the way back home, and they might stop at a drive-thru on their way home to eat before they finally get back in the door and unwind from the just terribly stressful experience of going to Atlanta and back. And that pretty much sells, and most of these people do this a handful of times a year, maybe. Now, likewise, there is a perception from the inside the perimeter people looking out, that a lot of the people who are from a little further outside the perimeter, such as me, from around Woodstock, Canton, places like that, we basically sit around and watch our cars rust, that there's just not that much to do. Our idea of a mass social gathering is getting up on Sunday morning and going to a mega church. If we want to go shopping somewhere, we can basically go to Walmart and our dining options are, shall we say, a little limited. Basically, all that we do is go to our big chain shopping outlets, our gigantic churches, and we go to our one of a handful of chain restaurants that there are 5 of within 10 miles of us. Now, of course, the perception is not the reality. Inside the perimeter, we know, as we've all experienced, that there are a lot of fun things to do inside the perimeter that those outside the perimeter don't always hear about. There are festivals such as the Atlanta Film Festival and the Decatur Book Festival. There are wide open parks such as Piedmont and even some of the more urban ones such as Centennial. There are some fun, great tucked away eateries, some more known than others, neighborhood spots, there are fun shops. And then of course there are the more established venues such as the Fox that always have different events, anything from concerts to plays, operas. There's the symphony that's world class, and just a lot of events that people might not hear about or they might not think about going to, just because each individual thing, nobody wants to drive all the way into Atlanta 45 minutes just to get a burger at the Vortex and then go straight back home, or drive 45 minutes into the city to go to a park when, if you're outside the perimeter, you've probably got a park 2 minutes away, or to go all the way into the Fox just to pay $12 to park and then go straight back out and then go back home, and your evening's still pretty much shot. Just as there's a separate reality outside the perimeter, they have some of the best concert venues in the state, and even a couple that are some of the best in the country. There are sporting events even outside the perimeter that people don't think of, as much as it's a specialty crowd. Even things like NASCAR events are outside the perimeter that thousands and thousands of people go to. There are all the local neighborhoods that are outside the perimeter, such as Marietta and Alpharetta, things like that, that have all kinds of fun outdoor one-off events that aren't publicized much outside their locales. And some of the best dining, shopping, everything from storefronts to small eateries to 4-star restaurants to tattoo shops. Almost the best of many of the things in Atlanta are actually outside the perimeter. And again, that reality is not necessarily the perception, and that's something that needs to change, which is, of course, our goal. We want to create a unified Atlanta experience. We want people to be able to do things both in their hometown, in the city, and anywhere in between, so that we can shift from this idea of inside the perimeter or outside the perimeter to create one total Metro Atlanta experience, so that people know that there are things that they can do all over this entire end of the state, and there are things they can do no matter how far out or close in they live, or how far out or close in they're willing to go. That there are always new things for them to experience, new things to try, new places to go, new people to meet. And that our way of achieving this is to try to find pairings of places to go eat that people may or may not know about, either on their way to or on their way from some of the more established venues and events that they might be going to, places like the Fox, and to be able to let them know about local festivals and give them background on some of these events that, again, if you're in Decatur, you might not hear about the Taste of Marietta, but you may really want to go to it. Things like that, and that we want to be able to promote these kind of services through our magazine, through our format, and that is where I'd imagined Kathy could take over, since the upcoming part of the actual specifics of the magazine and the concept behind it was really her baby to begin with. I thought that she would be a good person to be able to walk through some of this. But again, Kathy, if you don't want to or you'd rather not, that's completely fine. But again, this would lead into the mission statement of the actual magazine, which would just be a quick walkthrough as we've got it up on screen to be able to talk about it. Then leading into, of course, the target audience, and then the specific subject of the magazine. I left the statement of need out simply because I think that it's actually what's discussed in about the first half of it. We're talking about why there is a desire and a need and a lack of this kind of publication. So again, these last 3 slides, the mission statement, the target audience, and the subject, would really just be Kathy or any and all of us just really running through the entire unified concept behind the magazine, some of the specifics about format that we discussed coming from the north, south, east, west, and things like that, just to give a little bit of background on exactly what we've thought of. And then just a quick wrap up about, again, how much we all like living in Atlanta and how we want to be able to enhance that experience and share some of our stories about living in Atlanta, new places to go, new things to see, so that we can share with others and so that they can share with us, and to create something that's a little bit more interactive than just flat reviews or maps or directories, something that actually allows Metro Atlantans to come together and be able to talk. So again, that's all I've really come up with so far. But also, I don't know if everybody got Dr. Ramsdale's email, but she did say she made a mistake, that the meeting tomorrow that would close off the second floor doesn't end at 2:30, it starts at 2:30, so we actually won't be able to meet upstairs like we thought we were. But I will actually be in the dining room of Ivy Hall from at least 4 o'clock on. I know we aren't scheduled to meet until 4:30, but I'll be there that early, still doing some maybe minor tweaks and things like that to this. So if anybody has any other thoughts, ideas, if there are any extra slides that anybody needs added in, anything like that, just feel free to let me know, drop by. You can even feel free to drop by a little bit early, before 4:30 if you want. But I will be there from 4 o'clock pretty much straight through until we get everything sorted out and everything's ready to go. But again, I thought that I would be able to talk even all the way up to the very end of this, right before we're handed off, to go over the specifics of the mission statement, target audience. I am more than happy to go basically from slide 1 all the way through 14, and really handle the bulk of it, unless anybody just steps forward and is just dying to do anything else. But yeah, so if there's anything else that anybody thinks of that they would like for me to do or for me to add, or if anybody's got anything that they specifically want to tackle or anything, just feel free to let me know. Again, I can do as much or as little as anybody needs. And I think that's about it. So again, I'll be in the dining room of Ivy Hall from 4 o'clock on. So I guess I will see y'all all tomorrow, and I'm looking forward to it. Thanks.